At exactly 10:52 p.m. on the night of April 24th, 2021, a phone vibrated one final time. Not with a call. Not with a sentence. Not even with a word, just a single letter. K. That message would become one of the most haunting clues investigators would ever face. Because for the people who knew her best, that letter was not just strange, it was impossible. A woman known for long messages, emotional honesty, and constant communication would never reply with just one letter, and she would never turn her phone off immediately afterward. That was the moment Dee Ann Warner vanished, and tonight on Fearful Crime we're uncovering how a respected businesswoman, a mother of 5 and a pillar of her community disappeared, and how the truth was hidden in plain sight for more than 3 years. Before we begin, if you're drawn to real stories that expose the darkest secrets behind ordinary lives, subscribe to Fearful Crime. Because here, the most terrifying stories are always real. Dee Ann Warner woke up that Saturday morning carrying a decision she had been building toward for years. At 52 years old, she had reached a breaking point. To the outside world, Dee looked successful, stable, and respected. She owned a thriving trucking company. She lived on a large farm in Lenawee County, Michigan, land her family had occupied for generations. She was deeply involved in her children's lives, and known in the community for her warmth and generosity. But beneath that image was a woman who felt trapped. That morning, April 24th, 2021, Dee knew something had to change. And she knew it would be dangerous. After 15 years of marriage, Dee had decided she was going to tell her husband, Dale Warner, that she wanted out. Not later, not eventually. That day, the timing mattered. Dee had been preparing emotionally, mentally, and quietly, because she understood the risks. She had confided in people close to her that she was afraid of how Dale would react, afraid of losing access to her youngest daughter, and afraid that leaving might provoke something far worse than anger. Still, she moved forward. That morning, Dee arrived at a beauty salon for an eyelash appointment. To anyone else, it might have seemed ordinary, but the esthetician immediately noticed something was wrong. Dee was crying. Her eyes were swollen. Her face showed the kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from a bad night's sleep, but from prolonged emotional strain. She spoke openly about a serious disagreement she was having with her husband. Despite everything, she scheduled another appointment for the following week. That small detail would later haunt investigators. People who plan to disappear don't book appointments for the future. After leaving the salon, Dee spent time with her adult children. She visited her daughter and later saw her son, who immediately noticed how distressed she was. He could tell she had been crying for hours. Yet Dee tried to keep things normal. She took her youngest daughter to a soccer game, sitting on the sidelines like any other parent, cheering and smiling when needed. But inside, she was preparing herself for the most dangerous conversation of her life. Earlier that day, Dee had shared something chilling with her daughter. She admitted that she watched true crime documentaries and recognized patterns of domestic violence. She said, plainly, that her husband was capable of hurting her. Those words were not dramatic, they were fearful, and they were deliberate. Dee told multiple people that day that she was done with the marriage. She texted her son, saying she was prepared to sign over her portion of the business if that was what it took to be free. By evening, the tension was unbearable. At around 8:34 p.m., Dee made a quiet but critical decision. She sent her 9-year-old daughter to stay with a friend for the weekend. She didn't say why, but the timing mattered. Because whatever Dee expected to happen that night, she didn't want her child to witness it. As darkness settled over the Warner farm, the house became the stage for a confrontation years in the making. A heated argument erupted involving Dee, her husband Dale, and a longtime employee connected to the trucking business. Money, control, betrayal. Dee felt isolated, undermined, outnumbered. She had spent the day emotionally unraveling, telling people she was sick to her stomach, hyperventilating, and ready to walk away from everything she had built if it meant escaping the life she was trapped in. Then at 10:24 p.m., a friend texted Dee a simple question. "How are you doing?" For nearly half an hour, there was no response. And then, at 10:53 p.m., the reply came. One letter. Kickan moments later, Dee Ann Warner's phone went silent. Forever. By morning, she would be gone, and the story her husband would tell about that night would only deepen the mystery. and expose a web of lies that would take years to unravel. But at that moment, no one knew the truth. They only knew something was terribly wrong, and the worst was still to come. Morning came to the Warner farm as it always had. Quiet, still, deceptively normal. The sun rose over the fields of Lenawee County, Michigan, casting long shadows across barns, machinery, and the house where Dee Ann Warner had spent her final night alive. But inside that calm, rural setting, something was already very wrong. According to Dale Warner, his wife had slept peacefully through the night. He would later claim that after their intense argument, things somehow calmed down. That Dee fell asleep on the living room floor while he was giving her a massage for chronic neck pain. That he carried her to the couch. That she was breathing normally, snoring even. It was a story he would repeat many times, but from the very beginning, it didn't sit right. Dale told investigators that when he woke up around 6:30 a.m. on Sunday, April 25th, Dee was still asleep on the couch. He said he texted her before leaving for work, but when she didn't respond, he assumed she was still resting. He left the property. What he didn't do was just as important as what he claimed he did. He didn't wake her up, he didn't check on her. He didn't call anyone to say she wasn't responding. For a man whose wife had supposedly gone through an emotional breakdown the night before, his calm departure raised immediate questions. Just a few hours later, those questions turned into alarm. At around 9 a.m., Dee's adult daughter arrived at the family farm with her boyfriend and young child for their regular Sunday breakfast. This wasn't unusual. It was a tradition, something Dee never missed. But when they knocked on the door, there was no answer. They called out for her. Nothing. The house felt wrong, silent, empty. After searching the property, they finally encountered Dale. And what happened next sent a chill through Dee's daughter that she would never forget. Dale was holding Dee's wedding ring. A ring worth tens of thousands of dollars. A ring Dee wore every single day. A ring she never removed, not even to sleep. Dale told her he had found it on his desk. The explanation made no sense. Why would Dee remove her wedding ring, place it neatly on a desk, and then vanish? Especially if she had simply gone away for a few days, as Dale was now suggesting. That ring was the first physical sign that something was deeply wrong. As concern spread through the family, Dale began offering explanations. Too many explanations. He told people Dee had taken a travel bag, her purse, her phone, curling iron, hairspray. He suggested she might be staying with another man, maybe even left the country. But every claim unraveled under the slightest scrutiny. Both of Dee's vehicles were still on the property, one in the garage, one at her office less than 100 feet away. No signs of forced entry, no packed luggage found, no confirmed sightings. Then came one of Dale's most disturbing claims. He told law enforcement that Dee had a secret phone. Not just a second phone, but one she didn't know that he knew about. The statement was bizarre and revealing. For years, Dale had monitored Dee's movements, tracked her car, demanded access to her communications, and controlled her business dealings. Yet now, he was suggesting that she was the one hiding something. Investigators recognized the tactic immediately. Projection. As Sunday turned into Monday, Dee's disappearance became official, and with it came a silence that spoke louder than any confession. No phone activity, no bank transactions, no social media posts, no contact with her children, friends, or employees. For a woman who lived through constant communication, this wasn't voluntary silence. It was absolute. Law enforcement conducted a welfare check on the property that evening. Dale appeared cooperative on the surface, calmly explaining that Dee had been upset the night before, suffering from a migraine, overwhelmed by business stress. He spoke as if her disappearance was inconvenient, not catastrophic. There was no panic in his voice, no urgency, no desperation. That absence of emotion would follow him for years. As the days passed, Dee's family began to piece together what she had been trying to escape. This wasn't just a failing marriage. It was control. Dee had told people that Dale tracked her movements, that he monitored her phone, that he had isolated her from support systems. She had even shown a family member a tracking device that had been placed on her vehicle. She lived under constant surveillance. Months earlier, Dee had tried to leave. And when she did, she confided that Dale had become terrifying, that he threatened custody battles, that she feared for her safety. She had said something that now echoed painfully in hindsight. "I thought he could kill me." Investigators would later uncover signs of physical abuse, injuries explained away, fear hidden behind professional success, a woman quietly preparing an exit from a life that had become dangerous. And now she was gone. As the investigation expanded, Dale's behavior only intensified suspicion. Instead of organizing search parties, offering rewards, or pleading publicly for his wife's return, his focus shifted elsewhere. Within days, he was changing passwords on security systems, limiting access, securing control. He hired an attorney, not a private investigator, not search teams, a lawyer. To Dee's family, the message was clear. Dale wasn't trying to find his wife. He was preparing to protect himself. But what investigators didn't yet realize was just how calculated the disappearance truly was, how deeply it was tied to money, power, and betrayal, and how close the truth had been, hiding where no one thought to look. For now, all they had was a silent phone, a missing woman, and a single letter that refused to make sense. And the longer Dee Ann Warner stayed missing, the more obvious it became that this was no accident. It was something far darker. By the time Monday arrived, the quiet of Lenawee County had shifted. What once felt like a normal rural farm was now the center of a mystery that would grip the community for years. Investigators began digging into Dee Ann Warner's disappearance, and what they found only deepened the darkness. Dee had built an empire from nothing. DDW Investments, her trucking business, was thriving, and it was the lifeblood of her family. Employees respected her, customers trusted her, and yet everything she had worked for was now in peril. The first clues came from within her own home and business. Dale Warner, her husband of 15 years, was supposed to be helping to find her, but his actions told a different story. Instead of organizing search efforts, he immediately began restricting access to the property's surveillance systems. Security cameras were suddenly password protected. Gate codes were changed. Any evidence that could explain Dee's whereabouts, or prove foul play, became harder to obtain. Investigators also learned that Dee's financial accounts and assets were being manipulated. Dale began transferring ownership of company assets, moving trucks, equipment, and money into a new business he controlled, leaving Dee's original business exposed and vulnerable. The methodical precision was chilling. It wasn't just about controlling Dee. It was about erasing her presence entirely, both physically and financially. But the investigation wasn't just about money. It was about control, intimidation, and projection. Dale had spent years controlling Dee's every move, tracking devices on her vehicles, monitoring her phone, isolating her from family and friends. Any attempt she made to regain independence was met with manipulation or outright threats. Investigators pieced together a timeline showing just how entangled and trapped Dee had been. The employees of DDW Investments added another layer to the story. One man in particular, a longtime employee named Todd Nank, became a figure of suspicion. He had argued with Dee earlier in the week about business decisions, and Dee had suspected he was undermining her authority. At 8:34 p.m. on the night of her disappearance, Dee took her daughter away from the house. She understood that the confrontation brewing between her husband and Nank could escalate. In that quiet, almost cinematic moment, she acted to protect her child, a decision that likely saved the young girl from witnessing horrors that would later unfold. That same night, Dee's phone sent a single letter, K, then silence. Investigators saw the significance immediately. A woman who had communicated freely for decades suddenly reduced her thoughts to one letter, and then went completely dark. It screamed danger. Over the following days, Dale's behavior only raised more alarms. When questioned about Dee's disappearance, he remained calm, almost rehearsed. He suggested that Dee had left voluntarily. Maybe she had packed lightly. Maybe she had taken a secret phone. Maybe she was staying with someone else. Every explanation fell apart under scrutiny. Dee's vehicles had not moved. Her social media accounts remained untouched. Her bank accounts showed no activity. Even more disturbing were the signs of physical control and abuse uncovered by investigators. Injuries documented months earlier hinted at the lengths to which Dale had gone to maintain dominance. And while Dee had tried to leave before, She had confided in friends and employees that she feared for her life. But now, as the investigation deepened, a new truth began to emerge. Dee's disappearance wasn't just an emotional or domestic dispute. It was tied to years of financial manipulation, control, and premeditated planning. Investigators discovered that shortly after Dee vanished, Dale began making strategic business moves, transferring assets, selling property, and redirecting company resources. Employees like Nank benefited directly from these moves, gaining positions or rewards tied to Dale's schemes. The picture became clear. This was no spontaneous crime. It was calculated, methodical, cold-blooded. At the same time, Dee's family began noticing the subtle inconsistencies in Dale's story. The calm demeanor, the lack of urgency, the focus on legal protection rather than searching for Dee. All signs pointed to someone hiding more than just the truth. Someone orchestrating events to cover a crime that would remain hidden for years. Private investigators brought in by the family began tracing financial transactions and employee activity. They discovered movements at odd hours, access to company systems under false names, unexplained transfers, and early morning trips connected to farm property. Each discovery added another layer to the complex web of deceit, linking the disappearance not only to domestic control, but also to greed, manipulation, and premeditated cover-up. By the end of this chapter in the investigation, the narrative was undeniable. Dee Ann Warner's vanishing was part of a calculated plan by someone she should have trusted the most. Her husband, the man who was supposed to protect her, had instead used her disappearance as an opportunity for the community, for the family, for the employees. The calm, routine farm they had always known now became a stage for lies, betrayal, and the prelude to a horror that no one could have anticipated. And yet the most terrifying discoveries were still ahead. For over 3 years, Dee Ann Warner's family lived in a nightmare. Every day without answers was a day filled with doubt, fear, and anguish. Where could she be? What had happened? And how could someone vanish from the world and right from the home they loved and trusted and without leaving a trace? The truth was closer than anyone imagined. So close, in fact, that investigators had overlooked it for years. On August 17, 2024, more than 200 days after Dee disappeared, law enforcement executed a search warrant on Dale Warner's property on Paragon Road in Tipton, Michigan. Investigators had re-examined old evidence, refined their search strategies, and focused on a new lead. Something small, seemingly insignificant, but powerful enough to guide them to a discovery that would shock the family and the community. Inside one of the barns stood a massive anhydrous ammonia tank, a piece of equipment used in farming for storing fertilizer. To the casual observer, it was ordinary, functional, a part of the landscape, but this tank held a secret. It had been professionally resealed and repainted. The paint matched the surrounding equipment. No one would have suspected a thing. And inside was Dee Ann Warner. Her remains had been welded inside the tank, hidden in plain sight for over 3 years. The place she had called home, the property her family had searched repeatedly, the barns they passed by every day, all of it had concealed her final resting place. The discovery was both a relief and a horror. Relief, because her family finally had confirmation. Horror, because it revealed the depth of Dale Warner's planning. This was not a crime of impulse. It was premeditated, methodical, and merciless. For more than 200 days, Dee's absence haunted her children, friends, and the entire community. Every missed birthday, every anniversary, every holiday spent without her presence now gained meaning. Every unanswered question led investigators deeper into a calculated web of deceit. The implications of the discovery were staggering. Investigators realized that Dale's actions weren't limited to physical control and manipulation. He had systematically erased Dee from her businesses, her property, and her finances. Trucks, equipment, and assets were moved. Funds were transferred. Employees who had aligned with him benefited financially. It was a plan designed to profit from her disappearance while ensuring that no trace of her life would remain unclaimed. Family members, including Dee's adult children, were devastated. For years they had been searching, hoping, grieving. Now they had clarity, but it was bitter and incomprehensible. The woman they loved, a mother, entrepreneur, and vibrant part of the community, had been taken from them in the most cruelly clever way imaginable. The discovery of the tank also shifted the investigation dramatically. Law enforcement could now connect a timeline spanning 3 years. Every strange activity, every financial maneuver, every suspicious interaction, all pointed to a single, horrifying conclusion. Dee's death had been planned, executed, and hidden by the person closest to her. Even more disturbing, investigators discovered that Dale was not acting alone in the deception. Evidence suggested that other family members and employees may have been complicit in hiding the truth, whether through financial cooperation, facilitating the cover-up, or remaining silent while Dee's absence went unexplained. The sheer audacity of hiding a human life in a piece of farm equipment, on the very property she had called home, stunned law enforcement. It was a case study in deception, patience, and cruelty. For Dee's family, the emotional impact was immense. After more than 3 years of not knowing, they finally had finality. But it came with the unbearable weight of the method of her death. By the end of Chapter 4, the community and the family understood the truth. Dee had been planning to escape her life of control and fear, but that very attempt may have sealed her fate. And while her body had finally been recovered, the fight for justice was only beginning. Dale Warner would now face the consequences, but the scars, emotional, financial, and psychological, left by his actions, would linger far longer than any sentence. The story of Dee Ann Warner serves as a grim reminder. Sometimes danger is not in strangers but in those we trust the most. And sometimes the truth hides in the most obvious places, waiting patiently to be uncovered. The nightmare was over in one sense, but the ripple effects would last a lifetime. The discovery of Dee Ann Warner's remains in the anhydrous ammonia tank was the culmination of over 3 years of anguish, uncertainty, and relentless investigation. But even as her family finally had answers, the question remained: would justice follow? On November 21, 2023, nearly 2.5 years after Dee's disappearance, Michigan State Police announced a breakthrough. Dale John Warner, the husband who had controlled her life, manipulated her finances, and concealed her absence, was taken into custody at his home. He was charged with open murder and tampering with evidence. The arrest sent shockwaves through the community. For years, Dale had maintained a calm exterior, presenting himself as a concerned spouse and businessman. But now, the reality of his actions could no longer be denied. At his arraignment on November 22, 2023, Dale appeared in Lenawee County's 2A District Court. When asked how he pleaded, he simply stated, "Not guilty." The prosecution immediately requested a bond of $20 million, citing Dale as a serious flight risk and a danger to the community. The judge denied the request, holding him without bond. Meanwhile, Dee's family was forced to confront a harsh reality. Their mother, their sister, their friend was never coming home. The fight for justice, however, had just begun. In the months following the arrest, the full scope of Dale's actions emerged. Investigators and private detectives uncovered a systematic pattern of premeditation. The body concealed in the tank for over 200 days. Extensive manipulation of company assets. Transfers and sales designed to profit personally while leaving Dee's estate empty. Complicity and benefit to certain employees, including Todd Nink. The audacity of these actions revealed a chilling truth. Dale Warner had meticulously planned Dee's disappearance and death, knowing he could manipulate circumstances to his advantage. Adding to the complexity, other family members became involved in legal proceedings. In March 2025, Dale's son, John Warner, was briefly arrested on charges of evidence tampering and being an accessory to murder. Though the charges were later dismissed, it highlighted the possible network of complicity in the cover-up. Despite the legal twists, the family refused to relent. Dee's daughter spoke publicly, promising that the fight for justice would continue. "This is not over. It's only the beginning. We will fight harder to make sure she gets the justice she deserves." In May 2025, the family filed a $100 million wrongful death lawsuit against Dale. The filing detailed allegations of murder, abuse, and financial manipulation. It painted a vivid picture of a woman trapped, fighting to protect her child, her family, and her independence. and of a man who saw her as property, not a partner. The case was scheduled to go to trial in January 2026. The court proceedings promised to reveal even more about the depth of deception, cruelty, and calculated violence that had characterized Dee's final years. While the legal system prepared to confront Dale Warner, the story left an enduring message for the community. Sometimes, evil hides behind the mask of normalcy. Sometimes, the person closest to you can be the most dangerous. For Dee's family, the battle was both personal and public. They were determined to ensure that Dee's legacy, her strength, courage, and entrepreneurial spirit would not be overshadowed by her tragic end. They wanted the world to know who she was, what she endured, and how she tried to protect those she loved until her final moments. Her story also serves as a cautionary tale. Domestic control, psychological manipulation, and financial exploitation often leave warning signs. Signs that, if recognized early, could save lives. By sharing Dee Ann Warner's story on Fearful Crime, we honor her memory and highlight the truth behind her disappearance. We remember the courage it took for her to stand up against control, to fight for her independence, and to protect her child, even when it ultimately cost her life. This is more than a story of crime. It is a story of justice, vigilance, and the enduring fight of a family refusing to let their loved one be forgotten. Dee Ann Warner may never walk through her family's doors again, but through the tireless work of investigators, private detectives, and her family's perseverance, her story has finally been told, and her killer faces the consequences. Dee Ann Warner's story is a chilling reminder that sometimes the greatest dangers hide in plain sight. If you want to uncover more true crime mysteries and hear the stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat, subscribe to Fearful Crime and turn on notifications, because the next story might just haunt you.